Merhaba İpek, yanımda yine Caroline Hyde var. Şimdi kendisini bekletmeden hemen dönmek istiyorum. Hi Caroline.
Hi Kubra.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Let's begin with markets because the European equity indices I can see trading high today, but we just would like to focus on few indexes like Inditex, owner of Zara.
Exactly, we all love a bit of Zara.
Well.
It is, it is. It's actually the best performing stock on the Stock 600 this morning in Europe. And why? It's up 5.5% and it's on its earnings, and it's come out saying that its fourth quarter profit rose 14%. That was better than analysts were expecting. And also it's really expanding. It's opening 500 new stores, and also it's rolling out online. So its web page is going to the US and to Japan as well. So interestingly, still looking at Asia as a main hotspot. So people are impressed by their numbers.
And one of them is going to be in the Fifth Avenue in New York. As far as I know, one of the stores.
You've got good knowledge.
Yeah. And how about the UniCredit, Italy's biggest bank?
Precisely. That's up again as well. A little bit higher than 1%, and that's on the back of it had its earnings as well today. Now, profit is down 13% for the fourth quarter. However, that was better than analysts were expecting, and also some of its interest revenue, so the money it's getting in from borrowers, is rising. However, there are a few cautions in there to be looking out for. It's core tier 1 ratio, so that's a measure of its financial stability, that actually fell slightly to 8.58%, so perhaps investors want to see that improve. Nevertheless, the fact that it beat on analyst estimates, it is rising in the market.
And another UK story, Sainsbury's.
Yeah, Sainsbury's not so well. That's the biggest loser today on the Stock 600. Sainsbury's, it's our third biggest supermarket chain here in Europe, here in the UK, and it's down almost 5.5%. And why? Well, its sales came in less than analysts were expecting. They only rose 1% for the third quarter. Now everyone's expecting it to come up by 2.1%. So clearly the austerity measures that are being imposed, the worries that government spending is going to be cut here in the UK, and of course the price of oil and therefore fuel for our cars, that's stopping us spending so much in our supermarkets. Okay,
so let's just carry on with the UK, because in 1 hour time, George Osborne, finance minister, chancellor will be just releasing the budget.
Precisely.
So how the pound doing? So I can do
exactly. It is actually falling today, the pound, against most of the other currencies, particularly against the dollar. We can see it spiking down. Now, that is because the Bank of England came out saying that they vote on how many would like to see the interest rates rise, and it's still 6 people out of the 9 would like to see interest rates stay at their record lows, despite the inflation that we saw. We talked about yesterday, inflation. Exactly, but despite that, they want to keep interest rates steady because they're worried about the price of oil rising. So that's seen the pound fall slightly. However, UK gilts, so those government bonds, 10-year bonds, are rising slightly today as we wait in anticipation of what George Osborne says about the budget. Of course, actually the bond market has been rather impressed by what UK is doing over here. They're being very strict on austerity measures. They are clamping down on spending, bringing in our budget deficit. And as much as that hurts you and me living in the UK, because we see budget spending fall and taxes rising, it's impressing the bond investors, and they want to buy UK bonds, so they're rising slightly.
I see. So, but in contrast, in peripheral markets, bond markets is not doing that well.
It's a tough
not
day.
As well as UK.
I mean, just look at the difference in the cost of borrowing for the likes of Portugal and Ireland versus the UK. UK, it's about 3.6%. Look at Portugal and Ireland. Ireland at the moment spiking up over 7.5% for 10-year debt, and it's actually rose some 10% this morning. That's the highest we've seen Irish debt on record for its euro era since the euro came in 1999. So the cost of borrowing of Ireland at record. Portugal's 5-year bonds also rose to a record since the euro came in. And why it's concern again about whether they can repay their debt. There was some speculation whether Ireland had one of its banks had missed a coupon payment, a repayment on its debt. And also now Portugal's government is meeting today to vote on its austerity measures, and there's concern that they're going to lose. They're going to vote against the government in the parliament. And actually JP Morgan says we could see Portugal have to ask for a bailout as soon as this week. So clearly concern about whether these peripheral nations can repay their debt again. So the cost of borrowing is rising.
Okay. Thank you very much, Caroline, for joining us.
Pleasure.
Caroline Hyde bizlerle birlikteydi. Şimdi söz tekrar sende İpek.